Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hey Bucko Outdoors. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the Buck 110 Hunter. It's a classic little lockback pocket knife here. Definitely been around for a minute, so let's get into the specs real quick and then we'll do the review itself. Stay tuned. Alrighty, so I'm going to go off on some of the specs here of the Buck 110 Hunter. Clean that off a little bit. So this is has a clip point design. Buck's been known for a long time to use that, and they've had really good success with it. The blade itself is 3 3/4 inches long. I guess with this little bevel or whatever here, it's probably closer to like 3 1/4. The blade thickness, let's see if I can show that here, is 0.120 inches thick. Here, let's see if it will focus. There we go. So not too bad. Honestly, it slims down right here, and you've got this nice little swedge. The swedge itself is not sharpened. If you wanted to, you could probably take that on like a belt sander or something. Sharpen that up if you wanted to. There's really no need though. So, it has the standard lockback design. That this was like revolutionary and pioneering that for the outdoors community. As you can see, let's back out a little bit here. What that basically is, you have this piece of metal that comes up here, and the blade locks into this recess here, and you click this little notch and you can close it. And opening it, as you can see, what it does is it goes back, boom, locks into place. There is no side to side or front and back wiggle. So this has been the same design since 1963. It weighs 7.2 ounces. The materials used are brass bolsters, excuse me, on the ends here. And then you have ebony, which is like a synthetic wood. It is pinned in place. Some of these do come out the side. It's not really flush fit. I wish it was. Unfortunately, it's not. The ebony is really just like a cost-saving material. They say it's to like promote sustainable usage of like. Now, when it comes to weight, I don't know if I said it, 7.2 ounces. So definitely a hefty little guy. I wear large size gloves, as you can see, and this handle fits pretty darn good. This is like the first actual Buck 110 I've ever owned. My dad had one a long time ago, but I'm interested to try this one out and see how it works for me. Now, price for these guys is between $50 and $70 where you can find it, so definitely check your local listings and keep an eye out. From Buck's website, I think I picked this up for like 64 bucks. Now, alrighty, so the steel used on this guy right here is 420 high carbon. Now, I found that Buck knows how to work with this metal really well, and it, especially with their Boss heat treating, I've never really had any issues with Bucks breaking on me in the past, so I don't foresee having any issues with this one. Let's go over the sheath, and then we can get into the review. Alrighty, so the sheath on the Buck 110 is ships with this. I think they have nylon options. This one is leather. Pretty standard stuff, full grain. You got a little snap here in the front. Holds the knife in there secure, so God forbid this comes undone when you're hiking. It's not really going to come out of there. I mean, it probably would if you shook it enough. Now, it is made in Mexico, as you can see. I think they do that as a cost-saving measure. I've been wearing this for a while now. I haven't had any issues with the sheath itself, so I would say it's pretty decent quality. You come back here, it's got the full stitching all around. You know, your 2 buttons, one here, another there, and you've got this little loop for your belt, and it's pretty wide. I say most belts can fit in there. I wear a big utility belt to work every single day, and this stays on it, so I haven't had any issues personally. I will say this, I would keep like some probably like leather oil on this from time to time, especially if you're in like a drier climate or in humidity where there's a lot of moisture. You're getting exposed to a lot of rain, because that can cause the leather to, you know, come apart over time and, you know, degenerate. You don't want that. So, but yeah, definitely feels decent quality in here. No complaints really, and you've got the nice little, let's see, 110 back there. I don't know if it'll show it, but yeah, let's get into the review itself. I'm excited. All right, so we're gonna start out just cutting some paracord here, like butter. I mean, I really didn't even have to put that much pressure in it. Let's wrap it around a couple times, just like that. Again, like butter, definitely not an issue. This does have their hollow grind. I forgot to mention that. So that's definitely very good. Allows the blade to be resharpened in the field very easily. So yeah, as you can see, if you got to cut cordage like paracord, this is going to make easy work of it. All right, so this next test, we're going to see how the buck does. This is some hemp rope. Now, this stuff is notoriously strong among bushcrafters. It's a really good use for like improvised shelters and shelter building, what have you. So we're going to cut through this and see how the buck does. Ready. Okay, definitely a little bit more difficult than the paracord, but not bad whatsoever. Let's see if I can wrap it. Boom, like butter. Definitely not going to have an issue cutting any type of cordage with the Buck 1. So as much as I love being in the outdoors, a lot of times when I use my knives, it's just at home doing around the house tasks. So to be able to like process cardboard or like plastics or stuff like that is pretty important to me. So we're gonna see how this does at cutting through this cardboard. Oh man, like butter. All right, as you can see that. Boom, made short work of that. Let's see if I can do it by hand. You're just literally shaving it. That hollow grind, man, really allows it. I guess it's the shoulder angle on that blade. Just take a look at that. Definitely no dings or scratches yet, but it's literally just filleting this box. So if you're like me and you order a lot of crap off Amazon, or your spouse orders a lot of crap off Amazon, this is definitely a great knife to have. Definitely make short work of that. Alrighty, looking good. Alrighty, I'm out here in Southern California, so there's not too much dead wood on the ground. Unfortunately, it's more of a desert, a lot of sagebrush and, you know, ground brush and stuff like that. So able to find a couple sticks. I'm gonna try to make like a spear point, maybe a notch. Man, look at that. It is literally just filleting that, guys. And this is some pretty tough wood. I'm not sure exactly what it is. Found it on the ground. Oh, I'm having a little bit of trouble with that knot there. I will say that shoulder angle on that hollow grind though is really getting it done. One thing to note though, one of the cons I will say about this knife, it is very rearward heavy, so the handle is definitely where most of your weight is. I've got, you know, a pretty good callus on my hand, so I don't have any trouble gripping it. However, it is extremely slick. So as you can see, there's like no texture on there except these little pins, and they aren't flush. So I imagine if you're gonna use this, after a while it might cause some hot spots. So definitely something to note. I'm not noticing any side-to-side wiggle or anything crazy like that, but especially if it's wet or you're using it to clean or dress game, which a lot of people do. I know my dad used to use one of these to clean trout, so definitely watch out for that. You might want to, like, you know, since it is ebony and not wood, you could probably take like a heat gun, put some texturing or something like that. I know Buck does make polymer versions of these too, so if this isn't something you necessarily want, the classic looking, I'm sure you could get a polymer version. But yep, just filleting that. Let's see if we can make a good spear point. Do a little reverse grip action. Yeah, not too much of an issue whatsoever. I'm gonna see if I can make a notch real quick. Definitely nothing too crazy. I will say, especially with how cold it is right now, this little swedge right here, you push down on that quite a bit. A little swedge, it's probably going to give you some hot spots. It's, you know, not extremely sharp, but it's not dull by any means either. Let's move in there and get ourselves a little. Alrighty, I'm going to turn you guys back on when I get it. Alrighty, so I was able to make a little notch out of this piece of wood. This is not very good wood to work with. It's pretty dense, so definitely it got it done though. It took a little bit of work. I'm sure if I took some time and got to know the knife a little bit better, it wouldn't be difficult at all. All right, and I wouldn't say you should probably do any like serious splitting with this, if at all. Now the lockback design is pretty reliable, as you can see. No side to side or front and back play, but you're risking definitely quite a bit, this thing breaking back on you, and you really don't want to have to deal with that. I would say what this is really good for is, like, you know, basic around the camp stuff. If you want to make some feather sticks or something, you could probably do that. Spear points, if you want to make like a couple notches, tent pegs, stuff like that. Definitely it can do all of that, and with relative ease. Now the good thing about 420 high carbon, like I was mentioning, it is a softer steel. It is prone to rust more, especially if you're going to be in humid environments or places like excuse me. So that 420 high carbon definitely can rust up on you. Keep an eye on it. I live out here on the West Coast, so I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that. I don't expect it to rust too much if you keep your stuff maintained, especially with your leather sheath. If you just make sure that stays cleaned out, no moisture gets in there, you should be fine. But yeah, it's pretty decent, like basic wood processing, nothing crazy. I'm gonna try to make a feather stick here in a second with you guys and show how it goes. But honestly, I think with this is just a good overall like pocket knife. Now I will say, with how fine that blade edge is, that hollow grind, especially that clip point coming down like that, it probably would make a very good like small to medium sized game processing knife, especially with how wicked sharp you can get these things. So I'm gonna try to make a feather stick real quick. Stay tuned. This wood is not very good for this type of stuff, so we'll see though. I'm not the best at this either, so all you hardcore bush crafters in the comments, wood crafters, probably gonna get on me. It's definitely using it though. I will say it's not too difficult. Just need to be a little bit more careful. It's getting a little bit, definitely. I'm sure if you practice with it, definitely get where it needs to be. Yeah, I will say it is pretty slick on the handle, but I'm not noticing any hot spots with those pins that I was mentioning, the ones on the side here. But yeah, honestly, I'm not noticing too much difficulty. This is pretty terrible of a feather stick. However, it definitely can be done. This is not the best type of wood to be working with, but yeah, definitely can be done. Yep. So I was able to make a semi-decent fuzz stick, feather stick, whatever you want to call it, with the Buck 110. Definitely can be done. I would say this probably shouldn't be your go-to woodscraft / bushcraft knife, but it's definitely a decent little camp knife, especially a classic one with something like this. This particular model actually was the basis for most locking pocket knives of today. I mean, before 1963, there really wasn't that many options. Now, Buck came along and designed this along with a 112 Ranger a few years later, and definitely changed the world, because instead of having to have a big old fixed blade on your hip, you could just have something that could go boom and you throw in your pocket. So that was definitely revolutionary. I think just that aspect of the Buck 110 probably makes it worth the purchase, worth the $64 that it costs now, unfortunately, in today's money. I will say, I've been looking at the edge. I am not noticing any nicks, whatever. I actually dropped it in the dirt. I don't know if you've been seeing me wipe the dirt off there, but I dropped it in the dirt and might have nicked a rock or something, but there is no issues with it whatsoever. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to head back to the house and do some food processing with it and see how the Buck does. Then I'll give you my closing thoughts. Alrighty, stay tuned. Basic food prep. I don't feel like cutting up a bunch of vegetables right now. I apologize for the squeaking in the background. My dogs are going at it right now. So let's just cut this up. I obviously cleaned this before I did this because I had a bunch of dirt and stuff on there. But as you can see, definitely not bad at all. Just like butter almost. Cutting right through there, honestly. I'm gonna put this in some oatmeal, I think. Yeah, definitely like a good little camp knife, man. Definitely though, because if you're gonna cut up like citrus or whatever, make sure you clean your blade off afterwards. That acidity will cause corrosion on the blade, that's for sure. Alrighty, food prep, definitely can do that. So definitely nothing to complain about there. All right, let me give you my final thoughts. Final thoughts. So again, this is the Buck 110. I'm not necessarily over impressed. It's a reliable pocket knife. It's been well proven throughout the years. I mean, it's been around since 1963. That's 60 years this year. Definitely a very proven design. I think just the historical aspect of there, everyone should probably own one of these just for that, the way it paved knife technology, for the price, this one cost me $64.99, I believe. Check your local listings. I was straight from Buck's website. Again, with how crazy the world is right now, that's apt to change tomorrow. So, just keep an eye on that. I will say something I'm not the biggest fan of is how slick it is, especially with these little pins. As you can see, they're like sticking out of there ever so slightly. I'm sure if I called Buck, I could probably get that fixed. I wasn't noticing any hot spots, but then again, I wasn't using it for that long. Something I do like, I love the classic look of it. I love the feel. I'm a big fan of like retro aesthetic type of knives like this. I definitely think it's definitely a really cool blade. Now, compared to like some of the more modern stuff, this is not something that most people are gonna wanna carry. It's big, it's bulky, 7.2 ounces. I mean, that is a hunkin' knife. And especially, you don't have to carry it on your belt, but carrying that in your pocket, a lot of people's pants, I mean, if they keep their phone, their wallet, whatever, it's just gonna be inconvenient. So definitely it's more one of those things, especially in today's market with the amount of technology we have and the different knife companies like Gerber, Benchmade, Kershaw, CRKT, OKC. I mean, there's plenty of other better knives than this, especially for the price. But I definitely think if you're into like the historical aspect, or you just want a buck 110. I just wanted a buck 110. I remember my dad always had one. I was thinking, I can't, that's probably somewhere back in my old house. I probably want one of my own, so I went and picked it up. But honestly, it's not bad of a knife. I definitely think we don't pay these knives enough love for, especially, you know, the way they paved the road for what we have today. But yeah, I'm a fan of it. Unfortunately, it's $64. If you really want a good survival knife, just spend an extra $15 and get the 119 bucks like classic fixed blade. I'm actually doing a review on that here soon, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, definitely a good knife. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Is this something you'd be thinking about purchasing? I mean, these things hold up. I've heard of, you know, my dad had his for 54 years and passed it on down to me, so I'm expecting this one to hold up just as long. Made in America as always, which is always good. Definitely Buck's got a reputation for made in the USA. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is to subscribe if you have not already. Excuse me. Like, share, comment really helps out the channel and the algorithms, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please have a fantastic day.